stepped on a snail. Crunch. That was it. You did not even look down. It is probably the most routine death on the planet. We crush them on sidewalks, pull them off plants, pour salt on them. Children do it for fun. Adults do it for the lawn. Nobody feels guilty. Nobody even stops to ask whether guilt belongs here at all. It is just a snail. Slow, slimy, stupid, a pest. But this is what you just crushed. A creature with thousands of microscopic teeth in its mouth. A creature whose slime works as both glue and lubricant. And no material created by human beings can yet replicate that combination. A creature that builds an architectural structure over its own body, following a logarithmic spiral, and fires a calcium dart into its partner before mating. Crunch. That was it. Let us begin with the part that disgusts us the most, the slime. We see it as something repulsive. A trail on the path, a wet line across a leaf, a sticky stain. But for biologists and engineers, snail slime is one of the most interesting materials on the planet. It is both glue and lubricant. The same material changes between two states depending on pressure and speed. Under low pressure, it slides like oil. The snail glides forward. Under high pressure, it becomes thick and adhesive. The snail does not fall from a vertical wall, and it can even move upside down across a ceiling. No synthetic material can reproduce that trick with the same elegance. And there is more. The slime is not sterile, but it is a complex protective material. It contains glycoproteins that help the snail retain moisture, move across dirty surfaces, and partially protect its body from microbes. The snail crawls over soil, decaying matter, and almost anything it finds, and the slime works as a barrier between its body and the outside world. A team at Harvard developed an experimental glue inspired by slug slime, a close relative of the snail. In tests, it could stick to wet tissues and even seal damage in a model of a pig heart. It is not yet a widespread medical tool, but the principle works. And it is based on something mollusks have been using for hundreds of millions of years. When you wash snail slime off your hand in disgust, you are washing away a formula that modern engineering is still trying to copy. Now, what you cannot see with the naked eye, the snail has a mouth, and inside that mouth there is a radula. The radula is a ribbon covered with rows of microscopic teeth. In a common garden snail, there are thousands of these tiny teeth. Thousands of teeth in a creature the size of your thumb. The teeth are arranged in rows like a grater. The snail presses the radula against a surface and scrapes. That is how it tears algae from stones, pulp from leaves, and tissue from fungi. The teeth wear down and are continuously replaced by new rows growing from behind. The radula is a conveyor belt that works for an entire lifetime. But the most astonishing part does not come from the garden snail. It comes from its marine relative, the limpet. According to a study from the University of Portsmouth, limpet teeth turned out to be one of the strongest biological materials ever measured, stronger than spider silk. They are made of nanofibers of goethite, an iron oxide packed inside a protein matrix. Materials scientists study them to create new composites. Thousands of microteeth in the mouth, and in its marine relatives, one of the toughest materials nature can produce. In a creature you consider stupid, the shell is not a house the snail found. It built it itself over its own body. The snail secretes calcium carbonate from the mantle, a fold of tissue that surrounds the inner wall of the shell. Layer by layer, from birth until death, the shell grows with the snail by adding new turns to the spiral. The shape of that spiral is logarithmic. Each turn is wider than the last by a constant proportion. It is the same kind of curve that appears in hurricanes, galaxies, and sunflowers. The snail builds it without blueprints, without a brain in the conventional sense, only by following the chemistry of its body. The shell is not just protection, it is a thermoregulation system. Inside, conditions are more stable than outside. It is also a reservoir of moisture. During drought, the snail seals the entrance with a mucus film called an epiphragm and enters dormancy, conserving water for months. Some desert species can survive this way for years, and the shell can repair itself. If it cracks, the snail patches it with new layers of calcite. It is not perfect, it leaves a scar, but it works. A self-repairing armor made with calcium from the soil. Some things about the snail's structure are worth knowing. The foot is not a limb. It is a large muscular mass on the underside of the body. The entire lower surface of the snail is one single muscle, contracting in waves. Those waves move from the tail toward the head and push the snail forward. Speed, about 50 meters per hour in a garden snail. Slow, yes, but the system works on almost any surface. Horizontal, vertical, even upside down. Try finding a wheeled vehicle that can do the same. 2 pairs of tentacles. The upper pair is long, with eyes at the tips. The lower pair is short, used for smell and taste. The eyes can distinguish light and shadow, but they do not form sharp images. The snail lives in a world of smell and touch. Reproduction is another story. Most land snails are hermaphrodites. Each individual has both male and female reproductive organs. When they mate, both exchange spermatophores, and both can lay eggs. But before that, there is a ritual that biologists have studied for decades: the love dart. In many snail species, including the garden snail, before mating, one or both individuals shoot the other with a calcium dart, a tiny stiletto several millimeters long. It pierces the body. It is not fertilization. It is a hormone injection that improves the survival of the transferred sperm. Literally, the snail shoots its partner to increase its reproductive chances. It is not a metaphor. It is a real calcium dart before mating. The snail has no brain. That sentence gets repeated so often that almost nobody checks whether it is true. The snail has a nervous system with several ganglia, clusters of nerve cells that functionally play the role of a brain. It is not a cerebral cortex. It is not a cerebellum. But it is enough for the snail to learn. Experiments show that snails are capable of simple conditioning. They remember unpleasant stimuli and avoid them. They form preferences. Limnaea stagnalis became a model organism in neurobiology precisely because its nervous system is simple enough to trace individual neurons, but complex enough to show learning. Snails also perform homing. They are capable of returning to their shelter. Garden snails displaced up to 20 meters away can find their way back. The mechanism is probably based on chemical traces in their slime. In other words, they literally leave behind a roadmap and then return by following it. Snails also have sleep patterns. Not one continuous sleep, but cycles. A series of short naps followed by a long period of wakefulness. Studies with Limnaea recorded cycles of about 7 naps in a row, followed by around 30 hours of activity. The central question is this: what are snails for? The answer: they recycle the world. Snails are among the most important decomposers in terrestrial ecosystems. They eat dead vegetation, fallen leaves, decaying wood, and fungi. They process organic matter and return nutrients to the soil. Without decomposers, dead matter would accumulate, the soil would become poorer, and the nutrient cycle would slow down. But that is only one part of it. Snails are also a critical element in the calcium cycle. Their shells are a reserve of calcium carbonate. When a snail dies, the shell breaks down and releases calcium into the soil. That calcium is needed by other organisms: plants, other mollusks, birds. Birds, for example, search for and eat snails or fragments of shell before laying eggs. The calcium in the snail's shell becomes the calcium in the eggshell. Remove the snails and birds begin to have problems reproducing. And then there is the food chain. Snails are part of the diet of dozens of species: hedgehogs, thrushes, starlings, toads, lizards, ground beetles, and fireflies. Firefly larvae are specialized snail hunters. Without snails and slugs, many firefly larvae would lose an important part of their food. Without fireflies, another link becomes weaker: a cascade. Around 60,000 described species of gastropods exist, from microscopic marine forms to the giant African snail, which can reach 30 centimeters. They live almost everywhere: oceans, freshwater, forests, deserts, mountains 5,000 meters above sea level. 500 million years of evolution. One of the most successful designs in the history of life. And that is what makes the snail not only a silent hero, but also a problem. The giant African land snail, Lysichatina fulica, is one of the most destructive invasive species on the planet. Introduced by humans as an exotic pet and as food, it has spread through tropical and subtropical regions around the world. It eats more than 500 species of plants. It can lay up to 1,200 eggs a year. It even gnaws on wall plaster because it needs calcium for its shell. In new ecosystems, it often has no natural enemies. Fighting it costs millions. In Florida, authorities spent around $23 million over 10 years and still did not eliminate it completely. Parasites are another issue. Some snail species are intermediate hosts for dangerous parasites. The rat lungworm, Angiostrongylis cantonensis, spends part of its life cycle inside snails. People can become infected if the parasite enters the body, for example through poorly washed vegetables, raw snails or slugs, or contaminated hands. It is not a massive global threat, but in tropical regions, it is a real risk. Then there is agricultural damage. Garden snails can destroy seedlings, leaves, and fruit. For a farmer, the snail is not a romantic little mollusk. It is a machine eating the crop. But there is one important detail. All these problems are the result of our actions. We brought the invasive species. Parasitic outbreaks are linked to altered ecosystems. Agricultural damage becomes worse when we remove the snail's natural enemies. The snail did not become the problem. We made it one. And now the part that restores the snail to the status it deserves. Cone snails. Predatory marine snails armed with a venomous harpoon. Their venom is a cocktail of hundreds of peptides, each one aimed at a specific type of nerve receptor. One of those peptides led to ziconotide, a non-opioid drug used for severe chronic pain. The FDA approved it in 2004. The source, the venom of a marine snail. Slime in cosmetics and medicine. Snail mucin is one of the most demanded ingredients in Korean cosmetics. But behind the marketing, there is real biology. The slime contains allantoin, glycolic acid, collagen, and elastin. Studies point to possible effects on skin regeneration, although large-scale clinical data is still limited. The experimental surgical glue inspired by slime may work on wet tissues, unlike most existing adhesives. Potential uses: heart surgery, wound closure, suture-free procedures, field medicine. It is still in the laboratory, not yet a massive medical practice, but the research path is advancing. Then there are limpet teeth as a model for new composite materials. Guthite nanofibers inside a protein matrix. A structure engineers are trying to reproduce for aviation and construction. The snail is not just an object of study, it is a library of solutions accumulated over 500 million years. And we have barely begun to read it. Slow, slimy, stupid, a pest. And it turns out it was this. Thousands of microteeth and in its marine relatives, one of the toughest materials in nature. A slime capable of sticking and sliding at the same time. A shell that grows like a perfect spiral, using calcium from the soil. A tiny body with thousands of microscopic teeth. An animal that fires a calcium dart before mating, recycles dead leaves, feeds birds, hedgehogs, toads, and fireflies, and returns nutrients to the forest, the garden, and the British soil. We call it a pest because it appears in our flower pots. But in reality, it works where nobody looks. It cleans, transforms, feeds, and supports a silent part of the ecosystem without ever asking for attention. The next snail you see on a wet path will not just be a slimy stain moving slowly. It will be an ancient, resilient, almost perfect machine. If this episode made you look differently before the next crunch, subscribe. Here we reveal the extraordinary things the world has learned to ignore.